So a few people asked me about how the retreat went and they asked for a follow-up video. So I thought, why not? I'll do a short follow-up. Maybe it'll be of interest to some people. Maybe it'll encourage some people to either practice meditation or just out of curiosity learn more about it. So how was the retreat? So for me, I thought the retreat was amazing. It went really well. It was not easy, but I learned a lot from it. It'd been a number of years since I'd done a long silent meditation retreat. And so for me to go for 5 days and really just shut down completely, not look at emails, not take any phone calls, and just kind of turn off. And instead of working 10 hours a day, turn my attention to 10 hours a day of mindfulness and meditation was quite a big change. Quite frankly, I was pretty nervous about it. I wasn't sure how I would respond. I wasn't sure if I'd like it. I wasn't sure if I'd get a lot out of it. And so I was pleased that by the end of the retreat, it really helped reaffirm both my faith and clarify my doubt that the practice works. The best way I can explain it was by using this leaf, right? What we're trying to do in retreat is we're trying to look at our mind, right? And we're trying to be able to understand our intentions, our feelings, and start honing our awareness so we can see things moment by moment by moment, recognizing that there's multiple sense doors, right? You have your sound, sight, taste, touch. You've got your mind as an object of consciousness. And so how do all these relate? And then how do they trigger one another to create our experience of life? And so when we're looking, we're trying to really delve deeply like a scientist to see how are all these things connected? How is our life interconnected to create our experience and to create our feelings, our emotions, how we feel about life, ultimately so that we can see, is there anything that is even beneath the surface of all these feelings and emotions? Anything that can help us tap into those deeper well springs of happiness and joy? And what I found is it's kind of like looking at a leaf, right? When you first look at a leaf, it's just kind of like a pretty leaf, just a leaf, right? But if you are a scientist, you look a little more closely, you start saying, well, wait, there's veins on the leaf, and there's fuzz and fur on one end. And if we take our microscope and we look even further, all of a sudden we start seeing the cells. And inside those cells, we see there's mitochondria and DNA and chloroplasts. Well, likewise, when we're looking at our life and we're looking at our minds, we start seeing the different components, right? And one of the components that we start seeing really clearly in retreat is our intention. And so we start focusing on our intention. How does a sight arise, right? For me, there was like a light that was outside that was driving me crazy in retreat. And, I'm out looking at the stars at night doing my silent walking meditation. And every time I would turn, I would stop. And when we stop, we stop. We become aware that we're standing. We become aware of the intention to turn. Then we start turning. Why do we do this? Why would we slow down so dramatically to watch all these little movements? The idea is so that we can see, hey, not only do we stop, when we stop, we can feel our feet on the floor. We can feel our breath connected. We can become present in the moment where we are. And then we can start seeing, wait, when I go to turn my body, there's an intention to turn before I do the turning. Likewise, before I get angry, there's something that happens before that. Then the anger might arise. Then there might be an intention to respond to that anger, or likewise to respond to that happiness. Can we start catching the intention so we can open up our awareness and create more choice? Ultimately, it's about self-responsibility, about creating choice in our lives. Oftentimes we can be on autopilot, and what we see through the practice is our awareness gets strengthened. As our awareness gets strengthened, it creates a gap between our awareness and our intentions, which means it leads to choices. From those intentions, we create choices. Choices create decisions. Decisions create actions. Actions create results, and the chain keeps going. Awareness, choice, decision, action, result. So what I would notice is I'd be turning, and every time I'd hit this bright light from this house down the street blaring into my eyes, and I'm like, man, why do they need a floodlight? Why do they need to project a ton of light out of their house? I'm trying to do meditation here. Well, that just set up these circumstances where I can say, wait, by observing, there's just a light. All it is light. It's not out to get me. There's no intentionality to light. It's not trying to hurt my feelings or ruin the beautiful night sky that I have above me. No, it's just a light. And so in our practice, what we say is, oh, light. And we start noting it, light. And then we start watching this mental train of why do they have such a bright light? Well, that's all just monkey mind. That's all just this monkey mind stimulating, saying all these things that are just not necessary. And so through the practice, one thing that I was able to do is you'll notice these intentions. I'll be turning. And instead of being annoyed by the light, all of a sudden it just became light. It's just an object. And we know all these different parts of our experience so that we break it down and we can see what are the causes of suffering. What are the things that are in our way preventing us from really being happy in our lives? And so through the retreat, what it helped me do is quiet my mind so I can start seeing these different components. And whereas before the retreat, I was not quite sure. I'm like, well, I'm not sure if this practice is exactly right for me. There's a lot of doubt, right? Obscuring the practice itself. Well, through the retreat, I would say one of the things I really left with was a lot lower sense of doubt. There's no doubt the practice works, right? It helps you see and create more awareness and more space in your life. I noticed that it raised my awareness. So I'm 2 weeks in now, 2 weeks after coming home from retreat. And one thing I've noticed is that it's really brought a lot more awareness around any kind of incoherence that I have in my life. And what that means for me, incoherence, is when there's something that you want, you have a value in your life, right? One of your personal values, right? For me, it is to be a loving family member and friend, right? When I do something that helps me, that means I'm not being a loving family member or friend. Maybe I'm doing something, I'm frustrated with my children, or I'm acting in a way that's not in accord with being a loving family member and friend. It creates incoherence. It creates a disturbance because there's something that's going against one of my core values. And so what I've noticed is that through the practice, my awareness has become a lot deeper. I feel myself more in my body. And also I notice these times when I'm out of coherence with what's going on in my life. You know, it also raised awareness just around my overall surroundings. One thing I noticed, like I came back and just seeing my house almost in a new way. I walked into my children's playroom and I saw all their art up on the wall. And it was like seeing it again for the first time. I've seen this art on their walls for years. And yet when I saw it again with these fresh eyes, I just saw the story behind each picture. I could see the meaning, the depth of it. And it just resonated with me in my heart so deeply because I had taken the time to slow down and my awareness was a lot more clear, so where I could see these things almost as if seeing them for the first time. Another thing that I noticed was that there's a lot more intention and the ability to actually choose. So what I mean by that is it's kind of like tending a garden. You start recognizing that, well, if I'm tending a garden, the garden of my mind, I'm able to plant seeds and I'm able to weed out the bad weeds. Well, one thing that we know is true is that we have the choice of how we feel. Now, if somebody tells you, hey, that's all in your head, like you're all upset about something, maybe you get an email and it triggers you, right? You're frustrated. Why would they say that? That's not true. Yada, yada, yada. The monkey mind's going off, right? Well, what it allows us to do is say, wait, do I want to keep watering that seed? Or do I want to choose another one? Do I want to choose, rather than seeing this person as trying to hurt me, do I want to choose and say, hey, I wonder if they might be having a tough day? Or you know what? I'm going to assume positive intent. I'm sure they didn't mean it that way. It's just an email. Maybe I'm misunderstanding. Let me reach out and learn more about them and find out more about what's going on for them. Right? It allows us to create this ability to choose and to try to tend our garden more carefully. Because our garden, the garden of our mind, is what we have, right? It's our ability to become aware of what's healthy. What are the healthy fertilizers that I'm putting in? Those thoughts and feelings, experiences, exercise, things that I'm doing to cultivate a healthy garden in my mind. And what are the things that are creating weeds? Can I pull them out? Or maybe I just leave them be dormant. They're seeds under the soil. As long as they're not sprouting, they're not hurting anything. And so can I let that kind of keep going? And for me, what the retreat did was it definitely proved this practice works. The practice of Vipassana works. It opened up my awareness to be more aware of what's going on around me. And it definitely gave me more tools to be able to create a gap between my thoughts and my reaction to my thoughts so that I'm able to cultivate more joy, more happiness, better relationships. And I've been noticing over the last few weeks, even my relationships being better with my family and friends, my relationships at work going even more smoothly, and just me personally, my anxiety levels and stress levels coming down, and there being more joy and ease in my life. And so for me, that's what the retreat was all about. That's really kind of what I got out of the retreat, being able to see all these different components of my mind more clearly. And I'm excited now to go back on retreat knowing that, hey, I can do it. Oh, one more big thing that I learned. You can sit and meditate in any position. So for years, I was the guy that was always sitting, half lotus, very like normal Zen style meditation posture. And since I was sitting for 10 hours a day, I'm like, you know what? I'm going to break this structure of knowing down. And I'm going to prove to myself, you can meditate in any position. So I was sitting in different chairs, laying down, standing up, doing every different position imaginable during my meditation. And I share that with you to say, you can cultivate a strong meditation practice and you don't need to sit on the floor. You don't need to be in a special position. You could be sitting on your couch. You could be sitting in your favorite chair comfortably, and you can still do a very great practice. And so for any of you guys that have sat in meditation before and felt a lot of pain, I want to encourage you. It was a breakthrough for me, an absolute breakthrough for me to stop sitting on my meditation cushion and say, you know what? I'm actually creating bad habits. I'm teaching my brain that you can only meditate when you're in this special posture, and that's complete BS. I was able to train myself to sit in other postures and get just as much out of it, go just as deep in my meditation. It for sure took some time to change that, but for any of you that are meditators out there, I encourage you, try different positions on purpose so your brain learns you can meditate in any way. And I also say that for any of you guys that are interested in meditation, so you don't feel like, oh, well, it looks like it's going to be uncomfortable, it looks like I'm not going to like it. I guarantee you there's a position that would work for you where you can be comfortable and you can get a lot of value out of it. So I hope this little video is helpful. Hope you're all having a wonderful day. Congratulations. Happy 2021. Happy New Year.